Hello, hello.
You want to use
You want to
it?
just use that? Okay.
Yeah.
We can do that.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll call this meeting to order, and appreciate you being here. And this is the first meeting of the Governmental Affairs Committee for 2023. And the purpose of this meeting is to approve rules and to organize the subcommittees. So I've never served on this committee before, so I'm looking forward to working with all of you. I've got to know a lot of the groups and individuals that have interest in this committee over the last few weeks, and look forward to continuing to work with you and get to know more of you. And this is a good-looking committee. We got a lot of experience here, and so I'll value the experience on the committee. And I know this committee, this is a high-volume committee. You've got these infographic sheets on your desk, and the last 2 years, this committee's had about 60 bills assigned to it. If that pattern continues, it could be even more because we'll have elections bills this year in addition to state and local government-related bills. So we want to be as efficient as we can with our time. We want to maintain decorum at all times, and because we're gonna hear bills that may be controversial at times, so we don't want to take anything personal, and look forward to some good debate. You've got your rules in front of you, the recommended rules for the committee. And they're number 1 through 13. 14. And these are standard rules. The only one that differs from most committees is number 13 that deals with cityhood legislation, and it's the same as it was last year. So if you would take a few minutes to look at the rules, and then I'll entertain a motion to approve these.
first.
Okay.
Well, you can talk to them before you accept a motion, whatever you want to do.
Representative Oliver?
Mr. Chairman, have you accepted a motion yet?
We have not accepted a motion yet.
I want to make an amendment that's been adopted by several other committees I'm on, if there's a proper time, if the motion to
All right.
approve the minutes has been made.
Tell us about, tell us your amendment.
On number 10, the amendment that's been accepted in a couple of other committees that I just discussed it with Chair Fleming and Chair Leverett, after the word sponsor, I propose to offer the amendment of the bill or resolution under consideration. The purpose of that amendment in our previous discussions and what I offer for this committee's consideration is that this 2-year amendment is limited to the person who brings the bill in, the sponsor of the bill that's being discussed. The other members of the committee at the table who are not limited to an amendment to 2 hours. That's been the discussion in other committees, and that amendment has been adopted in Judiciary and Todd Jones Information Committee, and I'm not sure whatever. You were there, Mr. Vice Chair, for that committee. I think this is consistent with the other 2 committees and is appropriate, I think, with the original intent.
So I was at that meeting
Okay, good.
with Chairman Jones, and you said this has been presented at other committees too, and seems
Yes,
to
sir.
be generally accepted. Do you have the exact wording that you're
Yes, sir.
recommending?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what the exact wording would be?
After the word sponsor, the new language is of the bill or resolution under consideration. And then the first sentence would read, therefore, unless waived by the chairperson, the sponsor of the bill or resolution under consideration must provide any requested amendments or substitutes to the chairman at least 2 hours prior to the committee meeting. That's the amendment I will offer if the rules are before the committee.
Okay.
I have another one I'd like to raise for discussion at whenever you'd like me to, now or never, or whatever you
Okay,
say.
that recommendation I don't have a problem with, but if there's any discussion or thoughts there, I'd like to hear them before we move to the next one. All right, what's the next one?
This may be a little bit more controversial. I am aware that the previous Government Affairs rules for quorum was only 4, but that's highly unusual. I don't know if there's another, y'all can correct me, if there's another committee where the quorum is far less than 50% plus 1. The total members of this committee is, you know the number, probably the total number. So I would, 21, I would ask at the appropriate time, ask the committee to consider changing the quorum from 4 to 10.
Say that one more time.
At the proper time, Mr. Chairman, when the rules are before us pursuant to a motion, I would like to ask for an additional amendment that would change the quorum from 4 to 2.
Okay.
Excuse me, from 4 to 10, and that is rule number 2.
Okay, thank you.
I've been on this committee a good while, and I think that was adopted prior to Chair Blackman's, perhaps during the service of Chair Reiners.
So you're saying the quorum of the 4 has been in place for a good while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Representative Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, in order to,
22.
come on.
Well, yeah, 22.
Try it now.
Okay, yeah. If I may, in order to expedite this process, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the rules, and then with a second, we can open the discussion for amendments.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt the rules and then consider amendments. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we've got rules.
Well, you didn't adopt
Discussion.
the-
Yeah, discussion.
You didn't adopt the amendment.
Oh, we need to have discussion.
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll have discussion on the rules.
Because we have a motion and a second, so now we can have discussion.
All right, now we have discussion. And first, we'll consider Representative Oliver's recommendation to rule number 10. So discussion on Representative Oliver's amendment to rule number 10, which inserts after the word sponsor. Tell us your amendment one more time, exactly as your,
10, rule number 10, after the word sponsor, of the bill or resolution under consideration, so that the sentence would read, unless waived by the chairperson, the sponsor of the bill or resolution under consideration must provide any requested amendments or substitutes to the chairperson at least 2 hours before the committee meeting. And again, sir, this is consistent with the other several committees that we've had.
all right, so will you make that in the form of a motion?
I'd make that move to amend, yes, sir,
All right.
and add this language.
Any discussion on the ladies?
Is there a second?
Well, first, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion?
Is Representative Peace?
Representative Maynor.
Thank you, Chair. My suggestion is before we go to the next amendment that we can vote on this and not combine the two.
All right, thank you. Number 23, is this Representative Bazemore? Anderson.
No, it's Bazemore.
Bazemore, okay. All right, go ahead.
So my comment was relative to the quorum also. And because I had not sat on the committee before, I thought 4 members was kind of low for the number of members that we have.
Okay.
And
We'll
I
get-
didn't know if it was subcommittee.
All right, we'll get to that one next
Okay.
after we finish this one. Thank you. Any other discussion on this amendment? Chairman Leverett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So my understanding, the amendment under consideration right now, we shall call this the Oliver Amendment, would be to amend Rule 10 so that if a sponsor has a substitute or amendment they wish to offer, they need to bring it to the chair at least 2 hours before the meeting unless the chair decides to waive that requirement for it to be considered by the committee. But members of the committee would be able to amend during the meeting without any kind of advance notice or preparation of a document. Is I think that's correct, and my understanding is that's kind of been the prevailing practice, at least during my tenure.
Yes, sir. That's my correctness, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Oliver, you said that's your understanding as well?
Yes,
Okay. All right, any other discussion? All right, do we have now we will vote. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll make that amendment to rule number 10. Thank you. All right, now move on to the adopting the rules. All right, who's asking to speak? Representative Oliver again.
I wish to amend Rule number 2 to require 10 members for a full committee as a quorum. So if my amendment to substitute 10 for 5 were adopted, the rule would read, a quorum shall constitute 10 members of the full committee. I recognize, Mr. Chairman, that the 4 has been accepted for the last couple of rounds of chairs. I don't believe, if my memory serves me right, and I'm happy to be corrected, that any chairs ever had a meeting with 4 as a quorum. But I think the practice here, the rules of Robert's order and the normal practice of other committees is it's a majority plus 1. I'm not aware of any other committee where this low a quorum has been set.
Okay, we have others that wish to speak. Chairman Sains.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding is there's several committees that use the 1/4 as an amendment to the rule, that the prior to rules being established, 50% plus 1 is the requirement, but there's been a great push to make sure there's a commonality between all committees this session. That would be 5.25 if we're 21. I don't see an issue with 5, but I also don't think that, given our limited time here, and we have 24 hours, I think, at minimum advance notice to be here, any representative who wants to be here and part of the decision-making process can be here. I would hate to limit the committee's decision-making by putting something that doesn't seem to have been a problem in the past.
Thank you. Chairman Powell.
Thank you. You know, from past experience of this committee handles a lot of diverse legislation. Quite frankly, a lot of it is boring. I mean, and I don't mean that to make light of the fact, but a lot of it is not what a lot of folks want to get into, whether it's issues that deal with local legislation or changing of this or that, dealing with local governments or the election laws. So because of that, and one of the reasons the number's been so low is that while the importance of governmental affairs shouldn't be diminished, but as we go forward into the session and as things get more active, you're going to have a lot of members on this committee that hold that serve on multiple committees. A lot of times you're going to have problems getting 50% of the members at a meeting, quite frankly. And I think that's the reason it has been a lower number. Now, I would certainly think that 6 maybe might be more appealing, or 8, 6 or 8. But when you go to 10, sometimes you're going to be sitting here for 30 minutes or longer and not even be able to get a quorum to a meeting. And it's important to be here if there's issues in front of this committee. Members need to make every effort to be here. But sometimes, quite frankly, it's impossible to be here. And that's the reason that we have had the lower number. Perhaps 4 is too low. But I'd make a recommendation of 6 or whatever the will of the committee might be.
Okay, appreciate that background. Representative Fleming, did you have comments? You're number 26.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are other committees that operate with lower numbers. Judiciary has 5. And all the years you've been there, it's been 5, and it's operated just fine. And so I would there's talk over here that of Chairman Powell saying 6. I'd say 5, but I'd vote for 6, Mr. Chairman. So I'd like to make a substitute motion if the chair will allow that we go with 6.
All right. We'll hold on that for just a minute.
Yes, sir.
But we got others that want to speak. Absolutely. We'll come back to you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Let's see. Who's 27? All right, Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And with all due respect, Chair Powell, I think the folks who come here and are interested in the issues, all of our issues are important. And so I would say that because we have such a compact schedule this year, we I forget who brought it up in the chamber, Representative Bruce, I think, brought it up, that we have conflicting schedules right now. Many people have committee meetings at the same time. I also know that there are a higher number of one party on these committees than last time that we were here. And so I do think it's important that we take into consideration that people may be having to run back and forth between 2 committees to make sure that they're being able to represent their constituents. So I would think that a much higher number than 4 is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Oliver, we've got the alternative amendment, and we've got a second. Would you be willing to accept the alternative for 6, a quorum of 6? Could you speak in your mic?
Forgive me. I would, it's really up to this committee, whatever number they like, but I would not object to an amendment for 6.
Okay. 6 seems reasonable to me. So at this time, if there's a motion, if Representative Fleming, you want to make your motion?
I move that the quorum be 6.
All right. Any second? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. So thank you for that discussion. And, all right.
We do.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the rules as amended. All in favor, say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, well, thank you. We have rules. Any further discussion? All right, well, this meeting will be adjourned.
Oh, you didn't talk about subcommittees. I don't know if you wanted.
Oh, hold on, real quick. I do want to talk about subcommittees just for a second. We've got, last year, this committee had, I think, 4 subcommittees, 5 subcommittees. We're going to reduce that to 2 starting out, and these were emailed out to you. We're going to have an election subcommittee and a local and state government subcommittee. Chairman Leverett will be the chair of the subcommittee on elections, and Vice Chair Anderson will be the chairman of the subcommittee on local and state government. And you've been emailed the list on who's on which subcommittee, and if you have any questions, just let me know. And that committee will meet, the subcommittees will meet on Tuesdays from 1 to 3 in 4:15. And our standing committee time for the general committee is Wednesdays at 3 in this room. All right, thank you. We're adjourned.